Hey you guys, how you doing? And welcome to the next episode of the Bass with Benjamin bass vlog. And so once again, I just want to thank you for those of you who have checked out some of my other videos and the previous bass vlog, which was all about the Ibanez groove line, the lost bass of Ibanez. I mean, I don't know if it's really that lost, but it just seems like it, right? But this week, I just wanted to talk about something that I feel like doesn't get talked about so much amongst a lot of musicians, or just it does get talked about with some bass players, but I feel like that we don't express it enough, okay? Now, this has to do with bass solos, all right? And this is to do with the accompaniment behind a bass solo. There's this whole thing, and I've been seeing some people actually talk about it on social media, is that other musicians in the band don't know how to accompany a bass solo, or don't know what to do. Now, disclaimer, I'm talking about in a more of a jazz kind of context. Not necessarily like straight ahead, but just the jazz idiom. So, or something where, yeah, there is that kind of vibe going on, even if it's like a R&B or funk or whatever. I'm just talking about like a bass solo where basses are featured. So there's this whole argument that the other musicians in the band don't know how to accompany a bass solo, and I just want to kind of just address that. I'll tell you right here, okay? And yes, I am a soloist. I love to play bass solos. That's something that is just part of what I do. It's not all I do, but bass solos are a big part of just my whole vision of music and playing the bass. I'm not one of those musicians or bass players where I have to have a bass solo on every single song or every single gig. But I will say that I do have some preferences over what I would like to have underneath me when a bass solo is happening. Okay, so I'll just tell you what I like. So I like many different kinds of things, and it depends on what is going on musically. So if we look at, if I'm playing electric bass, and I know I've got a 4-string bass here, but typically I play 6-string bass, especially if it's for my music, or generally I'm just kind of playing 6-string bass these days, really. I like to play up high, right? And so, of course, when a bass solo happens and you're playing up high, what happens to the low end? There's no low end, because the bass player has now become the soloist. not the bass soloist, just a soloist. And so, of course, there's like this element that has just dropped out, right? And sometimes, well, a lot of times when that happens, the other musicians just feel, kind of naked or just kind of empty. And what happens is like maybe they'll just break it all the way down. And then what happens is that the bass solo, if we're playing up high, there's not necessarily much to go. And if the band does get louder, there's still this missing element. So the thing I look at is, for me, I think the first bass soloist that I listened to was Stanley Clarke. And this is someone who, obviously, he plays up high on the bass, and he plays a lot of melodies, plays a lot of solos. But the thing is, that's always consistent when he's playing, there's a bass line going under him. There's not necessarily another bass player on the gig. It's usually a keyboard player who's playing left-hand bass on another keyboard that is assigned to like a synth bass sound. So this might require you to have like a conversation with your band, with whoever you're playing with, like a keyboard player. And if this is something where you've been frustrated, where you've been playing bass solos on gigs and you're playing up high, and there's just like, I wish I had that support that I give to the other musicians when they are soloing. We get to have that as well. So I generally have a conversation with the keyboard player, and I tell them, like, look, there's going to be solos where I play up high. I'm in a more soloistic, mode. So feel free to play some bass notes. Just fill it out. Be a bass player as well, because I'm going to be up here. I'm not necessarily going to be down here. But if you do hear me go down here, playing low, no. Just listen. That's all you got to do. Just listen. But if I'm playing here and you feel that, okay, that fundamental is missing, you can jump right on it. And just, dynamics wise, and just play what I'm doing as a soloist, like, go with me. And so when you have that conversation, and when that happens, then it's just, now it's become, okay, just this nice, happy place. That's how I can kind of look at it, right? So have a conversation with a keyboard player if you're going to be playing a gig. If you're not going to be playing a gig with a keyboard player, if it's going to be a guitar player, then I'll talk to the guitar player and be like, hey, yeah, you can play, some more fatter chords. And also, I'll adjust how my soloing is going to be. And that's the thing, too, that I've figured out from just playing many different types of gigs and all kinds of gigs and having to solo on many kinds of gigs, is that the soloing aspect, or just the direction, is different every single time. And like I said, that depends on the musicians and the band context, the musical context. And so if I'm playing something where, okay, I know that it's going to be the total opposite to what I just told you, where like a keyboard can play the bass line, and they might not be a keyboard player, be a guitar player, then I'll solo differently. I won't necessarily play like the linear kind of stuff that I would do in that other context. I might play something where I do like a chordal solo. I'll also do another thing where we can use an octave pedal. Oops, that's it. Gotta fix the switch on my octave. Okay, there we go. Obviously. That's also a really effective way of just kind of filling up the sound. I might even do it like kind of to where it's like a groove solo, right? So, let's see if it'll work again. Okay, yeah. And you just have to hit it a couple of times and then it's fine. You know, that's the thing. It's like you don't have to always just do the same thing. Like, yes, you might have a soloing style and all that, but it's not always going to be this one thing that fits into everything. And I think that's something that definitely we could do more. I mean, we have a chance to really explore like on this instrument, and there's many different ways to play this instrument too. So that's my kind of direction and my thing where and there's a lot of my's going on, where I just adjust for whatever situation I'm in. There's also gonna so obviously I just mentioned like, okay, yeah, playing where the band is right behind you, but I also like to take solos as well where I want everyone to cut out, and I may be playing upright bass, and it's like, just let me have that moment. And I got that from my former bass teacher, legendary Charlie Haden, who that was his thing. When he took a bass solo, he would want everyone to just cut out, and pretty much for the whole entirety of his solo. And it makes total sense for that kind of thing. And Charlie, he is someone that I think, for me, is like the master of like playing a bass solo in a minimalist like kind of aesthetic. He wasn't like a chop meister all over the instrument kind of person. He was the opposite of that. He was very powerful in the way he played like one note. And with him telling the rest of the musicians like, hey, I got it. And he would even like tell you on stage, if you're playing, he'd like be like, I got it. Everyone can just kind of just sit back and relax and listen. When he's done that, he's got your attention. And I know there's that joke of like, when bass solos start, that's when the audience starts talking, or isn't there that whole thing, or that joke of like, there's that marriage counselor where he's trying to get a married couple to talk to each other again, so he just hires a bass player to come and do a solo, and then they start talking. God, no, it's terrible. But he was someone who he would have your attention with just the way he played notes. There's just that presence, and it required being the only person playing, because yes, it's a different dynamic. He has a different sound going, a different aesthetic, a different vision, and it worked every single time. Especially if you're soloing of upright bass, not all the time is something like that going to work when you have the rest of the band just kind of blaring out, because obviously it's a different instrument that is trying to cut through and be heard. And I think that's what happens when people start talking, and then just the bass, just like bass solo, just it just is just doomed because no one can hear it. That's what happens. So I think there's many different ways to approach and to play underneath a bass solo. And if you're watching this, whether you're a bass player or not a bass player, maybe you're a guitarist or a drummer or keyboard player, the best thing to do is to just listen. That's the thing. If you're a keyboard player and you hear that the bass player is just playing in the upper register, and I'm talking about electric bass, just like soloing up here on something that is a little more electric sounding musically, fusion, funk, R&B, whatever. Don't be afraid to put in some bass notes in there, but not. And when comping, don't do all these like kind of intricate licks and all that. That's going to interrupt the soloist. Just play the same way that you would behind any other soloist. But I think you need to just be a little more spare. Just be that nice, comfortable support bed. And same thing with guitarists. Don't play. Just don't play. All I'm saying is just don't like stand on the toes of the bass player. All right, when they're taking a solo, know when to play and when not to play. It's just about listening. Drummer, like if the bass player is like going up there and you can keep up with them, do that. But if it's something where it needs to be down to play underneath them, do that as well. Just like you would with another soloist. But I think the overall thing is that because a bass solo is just obviously different and sonically different from a horn solo, a keyboard solo, or a guitar solo, where there's a lot of, higher register, treble register kind of things. The bass can cover a lot of registers, a low register and a high register, and it can be unconventional. For me, like I said, for my music, I'm all about playing, using the bass as the lead instrument, and so I have my keyboard player playing bass notes. I mean, he literally brings in a keyboard that is just set for synth bass. No other sound. It's just synth bass. And he'll play that when I'm playing melodies or if I'm taking a solo up high. And again, this is something that goes back to maybe the, I don't know, I would say like the early 70s. The first person I'm thinking of is like Stanley Clarke, who playing high, there would be some sort of support there. So that's the thing. And bass players, be flexible for whatever environment you are in, to not always needing to play the same style of solo. Try something different. Doesn't have to be like all the same licks every time. Try some other stuff. It can be, like I said, a groove solo, a bass line solo, something like. The bass line is still there, but you're just playing a little more notes, and maybe that's a thing where it's just you and the drums, just like, break it down. You can just get like silly with it as well. Just have fun. Step out of the box, take a risk. It's all good. Bass solo, just the thing that you can always do, come back to, is the groove. Because the time is always going to be there. The groove, the musicians, they'll have your back. All right. Have a conversation with your musicians as well. Even if you just met them for the very first time, like just let them know that like, hey, I don't mind if you do this, while I'm playing. But you can also say, like, if you're on stage and you're taking a solo, and you can just be like, like I got generally people know like, okay, yeah, we can just hang by. Anyway, that's just kind of my thing about bass solos. I think it's just we could just talk about it more, but it's just all about listening at the end of the day. Listening, communication on and off the bandstand as well. So I could go on and just say the same thing over and over again because that's just how passionate I am about bass solos. But before I let you know what this bass is, because on every episode I'm gonna kind of just showcase a different bass that I have in my collection. Just let you know. Just a reminder. Bass with Benjamin courses. There's 3 courses up there. There's one free course, which is all about leveling up your professionalism and learning, what you need to prepare in order to get some like bigger gigs, or even just to get a gig if you're starting out, and you want to start playing gigs. This is a really good course, and it's free, on like what you need to know. And this is like all my tips and advice from stuff that I've learned over the years that will be really beneficial for you. And these are the things that help me get on gigs and get to play with people like Peter Erskine, Dave Weckl, Lee Ritenour, Megan Hilty, Mike Stern. I mean, the list goes on. Emily Albert, Lauren Desberg. I mean, the people who make up my resume. These are the tips on this free course, and you can do the same thing too. So go check that out. It's on my website, basswithbenjamin.com. There's links down below in the description box. Links for everything that I'm talking about here. I have a free weekly newsletter. That's something worthy of signing up. You just get some free, funny, inspirational stories and free bass tips and exercises and just updates about Bass with Benjamin. What else? Yeah, there's 2 other courses. The very popular course of mine, bass chords, all about bass chords. You saw me doing all these kind of voicings and everything. There's a whole course about it, and you learn how to play over 100 different chord voicings. And you don't need to have a 6-string bass to do it. You can do it all on a 4-string, so that's really cool. And there's a basic music theory accelerator course as well, which is perfect if you are a beginner bass player and you're just starting on your journey as a bassist, and you want to bridge the gap of the practical and the theoretical side. But this is also a great course if you are an experienced bass player, but you still don't have an understanding of the basics of music theory. And I was like that at one point when I was much younger. I could play and I had all these chops and I could just blaze on the bass, and I had no idea about modes or scales and arpeggios and intervals. Someone would say, oh yeah, it's just, you play the 13 on the top voice. I'm like, what is that? 13? No, like why? So this course is just about the basics, and it's from the perspective of a bass player as well. So this is something that you can just pick up really quickly. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's pretty fun. It's quirky and silly at times as well. And I kind of approach it from that point of view. So that's easier for you to remember and to just internalize it. So again, all those links are in the description below. So again, this is the best way if you really like what I do, you want to support this channel and to support Bass with Benjamin, you can go get yourself a course, sign up for the newsletter. So anyway, now that that's out of the way, what am I playing here? no, this is not a Fender, but yes, it is a copy of it. And as you could see there, that is an Ibanez Challenger, and this is from 1977. And this is a PJ configuration. Now, I'm pretty sure that this was just a P bass configuration, because I've looked at an old catalog of these basses, and I didn't see a PJ configuration. So at some point, this bridge pickup was added in. I have no idea when. I don't know what type of pickup it is either. But they put it in the 60s jazz bass position, which is very typical of just a PJ configured bass. So I got this bass, oh gosh, probably 12 years ago. It was a guitar player I went to college with, and he said, "Hey man, I've got this bass, this beat up bass just lying in my closet. It's an Ibanez. It's an old Ibanez. Do you want it? I'm not doing anything with it." I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And my whole thing was like, okay, maybe it could be just like a cool project bass. So get some new pickups and, you know, blah 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 blah. Yeah, that never happened. This thing like stayed in my closet for maybe 10 years in a case. I mean, it was an absolute unplayable condition. Like the electronics didn't work. The frets were absolutely messed up. I mean, I have no idea. Like it's almost as if someone took a cheese grater to the frets or something. But and I think someone at some point might have tried to even defret, or even did defret it, because there are some, like, you know, kind of little nicks and all that just taken out. I mean, I don't know if they just literally just yanked it out, but this thing was in poor condition. The body was all just like, it just wasn't working. So one year my parents visited me in Los Angeles, and I said, and my dad plays a little bit of bass and guitar, and I said to my dad, I was like, "Hey, do you want to take this bass with you? If you can find someone to fix it up for you, and you got yourself a bass." He was like, "Yeah, sure." So he got someone to fix it up and restore it, get it in playing condition, and then just recently, he said to me, he's like, I'm not really playing that bass that got fixed up. I'm not playing it so much. You want to hang on to it? Like, yeah, absolutely. So I did. I got it, and I did some tweaks on it. I did have to put a shim right here just to push the neck angle, or just to straighten it to kind of get it this way, because it was drooping this way, and so the G was kind of falling off the edge over here, and it was that thing where the strings just felt shifted over. So that's just like literally a bit of paper just folded and just put there just to push the neck angle up, and I put some DR fat beam strings on here. I use DR strings, wonderful, amazing strings. But these are the fat beams, and I adjusted the neck, and just intonated it, and this thing sounds incredible. There's still a couple of things. There's a few fret buzzes up here, but I have a friend out here who said he'll fix it for me. But you can hear like, but it does sing. That's the thing. This instrument does sing really nicely, especially like this in the back pickup. It's got that typical Jocko growl. it's just really easy to play. I mean, you can just fly on it as well, which is surprising. It just it just has a really responsive, active, like snappy kind of sound. When I think of PJ, I always think of Victor Wooten because he has that. I mean, that's kind of a very typical sound. Or even someone like Lincoln Goines as well, like older or younger Lincoln Goines, like with Tanya Maria, Mike Stern, like that era. But yeah, it's just a really fun, great sounding instrument. I'm not too sure what the woods are, especially the body. I mean, maybe looking at that, maybe someone might know. But really cool. Maple neck, of course. So, yeah. Real quick. I just want to tell you about this thing here. This is, first of all, this wonderful strap is by Atmos New Zealand. This is a handmade strap. It's called the Cosmic Pink. They have many beautiful different designs. Again, there's a link down below. You can go check them out. And this pad here, I helped them develop this strap pad it just makes the strap, something of this width, just more comfortable on your shoulders. Real simple. And it's definitely layered, with some nice padding. It's really comfortable. But it's a nice addition and really effective as well. So I highly recommend checking out Atmos New Zealand. Some beautiful handmade vintage style straps. They've got many different designs. But other than that, that's it from me for this episode. And again, I appreciate you watching. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Put some comments or something like that. I don't know, just the usual interaction thing. And again, if you like what I do, and the best way to support Bass with Benjamin is, subscribing and getting 1 or 2 of my bass courses. I'm going to be putting some more soon, so stay tuned as well. But again, I appreciate you tuning in, and thanks again. I'll see you next time. All right. Peace.